I'm Liz Larson.
And I'm Bill McKenna.
And together, we created the Cognomovement system. And we'd like to welcome you to the New Life Perspectives radio show,
where we're going to be sharing with you tools, tips, and ideas that are going to change your life.
Hello in UK Health Radio Land. I'm Liz Larson, and I'm here with my friend,
Bill McKenna.
Hey, Bill McKenna. And we are the team behind the New Life Perspectives radio show and the dynamic duo that created the Cognomovement system. So today we have something super fun we want to talk to you guys about. And I don't know, have you ever been on that Disneyland ride? If you guys are in the UK, maybe you've never been to Disneyland, but it's called Pirates of the Caribbean. And as you go into this dark tunnel on this ship with all these pirates around, there's a sign and a voice that says, "All ye who enter here, abandon all hope." And that's the title of our radio show today. Abandon all hope, but it is not what you think. It's about what the energy of hope is and the difference between hope and certainty. So what do you have to say about this, Bill McKenna?
You know, all right, at first glance, when you hear this, you're going to like, what? That's flies in the face of my, any positive feeling in my life, just abandon all hope. But it is, it's something really interesting that had come about. We do a seminar around manifesting, and the very, very first step in this, it's called Cogno quantum manifesting. But the very first step is we take people through a process of getting extremely clear on what they want. And the strange thing is, I'm sure you're listening to this right now and telling yourself, what do you mean? I'm real clear. This, I don't want this, or I do want that. I'm really, really clear about that. Well, the process goes something like this. And then what? Okay, you get this, whatever that is that you want or don't want. And then what? Okay, that happens. And then what? And you keep asking, and this process, by the way, I'm not going to call it painful, but I would call it annoying, is that you have to really begin to take time to think, to really think, okay. And then what? For most of us, we do two really primary things in our life. We don't think past that initial and then what, and we don't apply this to our fears as well. Well, if you have a hugest fear in your life and you do this process, it's like, okay, if I walk down this, particular path, and I'm so afraid of getting fired or something like that. Imagine you get fired, and then what? And then do it again and keep doing it. And the most amazing clarity happens. I know it sounds kind of bizarre, but this episode here, if I was to distill it to a word, would be clarity. Clarity.
Well, and in the manifesting process, there's two different places where you need clarity and certainty for the whole thing to work out like you want it to. And that's why we're saying this, abandon all hope. So let's back up just a little. Bill and I were having some fun this week, and we were watching some videos on the contest queen, is what she's called, Helen Hadsell. And Helen Hadsell would enter contests. hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of contests, and she won all of them. Many.
5,000. I want this is not BS. It's really true. You can Google this. Helen Hadsel won 5,000 contests. What do you mean 5,000 contests? You tell them about it, Liz.
Well, it's absolutely incredible. And if you guys get a chance, look her up because she's great fun to watch. But she would enter these contests, and a lot of them were 28-word contests. And back in the day, I mean, we're talking about in the 60s, I think, she would enter these 28-word contests for companies that were actually looking for a way to market their product in a way they hadn't thought of before. So I think the first one she entered was Coca-Cola, and she didn't even drink Coca-Cola. But what they were asking is, how do you feel when you drink a Coke in 28 words? It was really brilliant marketing strategy on the part of the companies. But you could win fabulous prizes. The first one is an outboard motor. That's what her husband wanted. And skateboards and bicycles and a house. She won a house. And she won trip after trip after trip. And she ended up having to give some things away because she won so many things. She would enter multiple contests at a time. But the thing that we really boiled it down to is Helen Hadsel was certain. She had clarity on, number one, what she wanted specifically. What did they need? What did the family need? What did they want? And then she got to the point where she entered the contest, but she did never hope she would win. Not even one time did Helen Hadsel hope she would win. She knew she would win. It got so ridiculous that when she won the house, first she went to tour the house to see if she even would like it, because she knew if she entered, she'd win. She went to the house and she decided, okay, she liked it. It was a Formica house. For those of you who are too young to remember Formica, it was this kind of a plasticky material that very much looked like granite countertops. And they would glue it to wood, and it was like imitation granite countertops. And they used it in bathrooms and on cupboards. And nowadays we would consider it very tacky, but at the time it was revolutionary. So Helen Hadsel went and she looked and she decided, yes, that she would take this house. Well, then she started looking around and deciding how she was going to design it, but not hoping that she might design it. There was no feeling, here's where it gets interesting, of hope. It was, yes, okay. And I'll get a brown sofa for over there. And I think I might like this pink color. She was choosing what she wanted in the house. Well, so then she, at the end of the tour, she put in her application, whatever the contest was, and she knew she would win. So she knew what date they were going to announce it. So she tells her husband, you need to take the day off because they're going to want to tell us together. At that time, the husband had to do everything. So take the day off. And by now he knew she's going to win that house. I believe she'd already ordered the furniture before she got the house. Don't quote me on that one, but I'm pretty sure. Anyway, she told her kids, for God's sake, look surprised when they tell us we won the house, because by then they knew she was going to win it too. And it was old hat. And sure enough, she won that house. That they showed up and they told her she won the house. But Helen Hadsel had absolute clarity. And she knew for sure, certainty, what she was going to get. And never one time did she hope. And after our break today, we'll kind of break it down what she uses, because it's pretty interesting. But we want to talk about what is hope. If you're familiar with David Hawkins' work, he would put hope in that courage section. So David Hawkins kind of gave these feelings a level and an energy level. So hope or courage is like, I want it. I want it, but I'm afraid I won't get it. I want to do it, but it may not happen. It's at level what's called 200. And it's not certainty. Of course, hope feels better than despair, but it is not certainty. It's not surety. It's not clarity. And so the energy of hope actually muddles your manifesting. We want to get to a place of, sure, of course, it's happening, it's coming. Let me make my arrangements for when it arrives. So it's interesting, the difference, don't you think, Bill?
There's a world of difference, right? Is hope is conflicted. If you look at it, right, is like there's danger, there's something I want in some way that I don't have, and I really am in a place that I would like it to happen. I would like this to happen. And it's a good feeling, right? It's not, I'm afraid if it's not, but it is conflicted. This clarity was a gift that it seems Helen naturally had. She naturally had the ability to just be very, very clear. Now, one of the things that we found in the cogno-conscious manifesting seminars and in the work that we've done around it is that we think, for example, we want to win the lottery. Like, oh my gosh, if I won the lottery, prayers are answered. I wouldn't have to. I would do this. I would do that. And what it comes down to is that there is not the realization that there is a conflict. When we do the process in this series, in this work that we do, we have people move their eyes in a certain way. And because neurologically, the eyes and the brain are one, what happens is you'll actually be able to feel the area. It feels like your eyes are pulling or you have double vision in a certain position. And this position also of the eyes is the exact same position as something that is conflicted or juxtaposition with the manifestation. For example, back to the lottery. I want to win the lottery, but have you ever considered, like, after you win the lottery, who might show up? Maybe you lose your privacy. You've got reporters in front of your house, and then some people that you don't know start to pay a little too much attention. Maybe you also have family members, and those family members are going to be like, you got to help me, and you're like, and you're like, well, gosh, you didn't help me, and then you have this conflict, or maybe you want to share with all your family, but your spouse is like, what are you doing? You're blowing all the money, and these family members don't care about you, or whatever. And now you're looking at a divorce, or you have all of these different kind of things that you don't really think about, but your subconscious has it programmed, and it'll literally be reflected in your eyes, intention in your eyes. And so we help people to release those kind of conflicts, is what we do within that series. there are so many with whatever you want to manifest right now. Consider what is at risk if it does happen. If you get the big job making $250,000 a year, maybe it's like, oh my gosh, if I did get the job making $250,000 a year, that means I'm going to have to get on a plane and fly all over the world. And there I'm going to leave my child and my wife, let's just say, so there are these kind of hidden things that keep us from getting what we really want. And those hidden things are in our body.
And they are the things that are that create the lack of clarity and the lack of certainty, because what they really do is they create a feeling in our body. So that's where that hope is, where it's like 75% yeah and 25% right? And it's that 25% that actually limits our ability to have clarity and absolute certainty that it will happen, because maybe we're only 25% sure that maybe we don't want it, and 75% sure that maybe we do. So it creates this little conflict in our system, which really kind of creates that conflict in our life. Let's take a quick break here. And when we get back, we'll break it down Helen Hadsell style. Does that sound good, Bill?
Oh, it's fun.
All right. So UK Health Radio, take it away. Okay, we're back. So we'll put what we just said into some context. So Helen Hadsell used a little formula that she called SPEC, SPEC. So she said the first thing you do is you select. What Bill was talking about, you got to choose, get real clear on what you do want. And she did. It was whatever her family needed or wanted next. So Helen Hadsell really wasn't, with this contest thing, really didn't seem to be looking 10 years out. She was looking like, oh, what would be fun to have in our life right now? What would make our life easier? The first contest was her husband wanted an outboard motor and they didn't have the money. So she decided she would win him an outboard motor, and dang it if she didn't do it, right? So select, choose. When we teach this class, I'm always saying that really most people's manifestations don't come to pass because they forget to choose. They don't get clear on what they want in their life. So select, choose. The next one is really what Bill was talking about. Project. P is project. See it in your life. So manifestations, they don't happen in a vacuum. You don't just receive $1 million and then your life doesn't change. There's too many moving parts. Things move around it. So when you project it into your life, Helen Hadsell's language, you see, take some time to think, how does this really fit? How will I utilize it? So for example, with the lotto, if a person were to take steps and really learn, what do you do with, $100 million? What lawyers do you have? Do you have a family trust? Is there a way to give certain people money that's within the tax codes? How do I set that up for planning? So most people just hope they'll win the lottery, but very few actually take the steps to work out how it's going to fit in their life. Prepare the way for this manifestation to show up, and your certainty becomes clearer and clearer, and you know what the pitfalls are. You can deal with them ahead of time. So there's no longer hope, but like, okay, yes, I'm ready. Here we go. So that fitting it into your life part, most people don't even know they should do it or how. That's where a program like ours does help too. Okay. E is expect, as though it's a given. Certainty, as we were talking about, clarity. So that's where something like our overall system helps a lot, because the expectation gets mixed with fear. What if it doesn't? What if it's something you're trying to manifest that in your experience you really, really need? And your hope becomes 75%. I'm afraid I won't get it, and 25%, I want it and it's going to happen. So you have to get that feeling. That's the changeable part, I think, Bill. You can shift that feeling out of your body and get to a place that's above that 200 level on the Hawkins scale. It's 250, it's neutral. Neutrality, that place in the body where you're like, okay, sure, all right, it's fine, it's happening, is the gateway to everything else above it. It is the gateway to manifesting like a boss, choosing with clarity, deciding. It's the gateway to things like love, joy, peace, bliss, and even enlightenment. That ability to get yourself to just neutral. You're not too much toward and you're none against, for sure. And there you can build the energy towards. So that's something that where Cogno movement can jump right in, is that neutrality piece.
Yeah. And if you reflect, personally, for if you're listening right now, if you reflect on all the things that you wanted and then it actually happened, go through your life. Think about that. When you wanted that bicycle or skateboard or position or you name it, and you you wanted it and you had a lot of clarity. The entire universe was collapsed into, I want Rock'em Sock'em Robots game. That's it. That's, I'm very, very clear. Did it show up? How many times did that happen for you when you were very, very clear? I know for myself that when I get very, very clear, there's a lot of different options out there. But no, I want it in red. I want the tan seats. I want I'm very, very clear and I'm unconflicted that thing, I don't know the exact timing of it, but it does show up. It does show up.
Well, it's true. If you look at a lot of little kids, they'll end up with a room full of one kind of toy. And for my son, it was Thomas the Train. And I look back and I think, why did we feel compelled to buy him hundreds of those things?
Yeah.
Well, he chose, I want that one. And somebody inevitably in the family would buy it for him. What's interesting is it wasn't an issue of spoiling. We just sort of felt compelled. He wanted it, and so we bought it. We fell into his certainty about it. And then one day, he didn't want it anymore. And no one ever bought him another one again. But I don't remember a decree of him saying, I don't want it anymore. He just, sort of became less interested and stopped focusing on it. And then there was something else. But a client today told me about his son. He's about 11. And he said he's a really great manifester and he is very certain. And he said, I've done my best to tell him, oh, don't get your hopes up. We get conditioned. Don't get your hopes up. Maybe it won't happen. And he thinks he's trying to protect his son from, inevitable pain. But his son has completely disregarded this warning. And he says, nah, it'll happen, Dad. And danged if it doesn't. Clarity, certainty. So I watched a series over the week called Louisa Spagnoli, and she was the founder of Perugina chocolates. If you look in the store here in the United States, you'll find them, but in Europe, it's everywhere. It's huge. And Louisa Spagnoli was born and raised in a time when women didn't own businesses. They weren't even allowed to take economics classes. And she put her mind to first owning a confectionery shop against her husband's knowledge, then going into business with Buitoni pasta, her idea, she initiated, not something women would do. She invented machinery. She's the reason we have Angora sweaters and chocolate Easter eggs and chocolates in a box. She's the reason we give each other chocolates as gifts. If you think back, there was a time when people didn't give each other chocolates as gifts. Now it's a standard gift for affection or thank you or anything else. She started that. And I highly recommend this movie. It's in Italian language with subtitles, but she was certain. She decided what she wanted. She saw a problem and decided to solve it, whatever it was, or just set her sights on something better, made up her mind, and then did not waver. And every man around her kept telling her, oh, you can't do that. That's never been done. That doesn't work that way. And she nodded and smiled and said, we'll do it anyway. And they did. And eventually she just wore people down. They knew for a fact, just like Helen Hadsel, what she wanted was going to come into existence one way or another. And what was interesting about her is there was no fuss. There was no excitement. You know, occasionally she was a little irritated about people underestimating women, but she was certain. She was kind and loving and caring, and the things that she created more for the people around her and better, good. It wasn't like she was demanding and overbearing. She was just incredibly certain. And it was the thing people said about her from the time she was a child. She does what she wants, and she gets what she wants. It's a really inspiring movie, but it's so funny because it came along with these Helen Hadsel videos at the same timing for us. This reminder about absolute certainty in getting what you want. Okay, so there's one more piece of this spec, SPEC. Select, project, expect, and then claim. Claim it. Receive it. Okay, on the surface, this does not seem like a problem, except for that it is. How many times we've seen in Cogno Quantum, somebody do a session and the next day or minutes later, they get a call offering them what they want. Mm-hmm. And they're so excited. And then within a few days, you hear that maybe it fell apart.
Yeah.
Why? Why does this happen? We get afraid of our own power. And we forget to receive the thing that we ordered. It's like ordering your favorite dish at a restaurant, the one you know you love. And then when it arrives, you say, oh, I don't think I deserve this, or dang it, I have this ordering power that's incredible. And you just send it back with the waiter. Like, that would make no sense, but we see it all the time, don't we?
Well, I mean, reminds me of a story. There was a person who wanted a car, and it was a very, very specific car in specific color, brand new, and they did all the work. They went through and did the work in the seminar series, and there were so many conflicted things. You know, you would think on the surface it's just a car, but there were so many conflicted things around it. I've seen this multiple times with people around the world. It's the same issue. It's not an issue that's just in a particular culture. I've seen it in different countries as I've worked with people around the world. And funny enough, cars have a lot of emotion, you know, and it was really funny because this one particular one I'm thinking of, the car shows up with a bow on it in the driveway. Like, oh my God, this exact car, the exact color, the exact color, exterior, interior, every detail is exact with a bow on it. Well, they get out of their, they see this, they get out of their car and it's like, what the heck? They were very upset because it didn't come through the method that they had envisioned. They had envisioned the car, but then as a subtle side note, it's like, oh, I know how it's going to come to me. It's going to come to me through whatever, winning the lottery or something, who knows, whatever their thing was. But it ended up coming through a person. And they were like, oh my God, I don't want this. Really, seriously, it's just like mad about it because they didn't want it that way.
So funny.
Yeah, it is funny, but this real estate transactions, whatever, we've seen this time and again, where the deal falls apart immediately because there's some, to receive it, right? You're there ready. Okay, here you go. Oh, well, I don't like that. Have you ever given a gift to somebody, kind of something that you knew they kind of wanted, and they got pissed off at you and kind of rejected it? Have you ever had that one?
Yeah.
It's pretty shocking, isn't it?
It is. So we need to take another quick break, but when we come back, I'll tell Helen Hatzel's story about this. It's kind of interesting because she did it a couple times herself in an interesting way. So let's hear back from UK Health Radio, and we'll be right back. Okay, so Helen did this a couple times in just a slightly different way. What she said was she had some delayed results. And she jumped the gun. She decided, okay, it wasn't happening, and she jumped the gun. So one of them was she had applied for this washing machine. She wanted a new washing machine. And so I think it was a GE washing machine.
I think it was actually, I saw this. It was a stove.
Was it a stove? You're right. It was a stove.
It was a stove.
So she, puts in for the stove. She knows she's going to get it. Well, the day comes and goes, and she doesn't get the notification that she got the stove, but she did, in another thing, win $1,000. So she says, okay, well, I guess I got this $1,000. So, and I didn't get the stove, so I'm supposed to buy the stove with the $1,000. So she goes and buys a stove. Well, shortly after, she gets a call saying, oh, Mrs. Hatzel, we're sorry. We forgot to contact you and let you know you won the stove. So in her case, she, well, all right, I guess this is the way it's turning up. She kind of fouled up her own plan in that way, because she didn't wait for the thing that she knew was going to happen, and it eventually it did. But your point about giving somebody a gift of something they want and they're annoyed, it's a weird thing. Well, like, you got what you want, but I didn't get it in the way I thought. Like, maybe I was going to get a job, or maybe my boyfriend was going to give it to me, or right. So the way it comes. So this part of claiming it seems like the easiest part, but it isn't always. When you put your mind on manifesting something, you better damn well be ready to accept it. And it's going to come by the path of least resistance. Whatever is the easiest way. Now, in Cogno Quantum, we're always teaching that really, if you've had something on your mind for a while that you want, it really is in your vicinity. It's nearby. Otherwise, you'd never be thinking about it. It's really reaching out for you as much as you're reaching out for it. And the only thing holding it back is all these weird little resistances that we have, our belief systems and the pattern in our body. Between our brain and our body, we send out these powerful signals that either push it away or just are a match and a magnet. So it's not even like drawing it in, like pulling a boat in by a rope. It's just magnetizing instantly. So it's right there. It's right around. Otherwise, you wouldn't be thinking about it. So the minute something moves out of its way, it's going to show up, and it's going to come by the path of least resistance. So think it through. Are you willing to receive it in whatever way it comes? Now, some people will say, for the best of everyone involved, which might be a good thing to say. You don't want somebody to die for you to get something you want. So for the highest good of all involved is always a good way to think about this. But are you willing to accept it in the way it comes? Do you really want it to that extent? If not, get clear. Get clear.
So I gotta share this. I have some, it's really interesting personal experience, personal stories and friend stories. I don't know how many I can fit in here, but the story, the first thing I want to point out is that the less negative emotions that we have, the kind of those looping thoughts of what I don't want in life, discussing what we don't want, discussing our fears, anxieties, shame, guilt, humiliation, anger, all of those negative feelings that us humans have as a repetitive pattern in our life. What they do is they slow everything down. And as we have released all of those, what happens is it speeds up. As the more we're in a place of love, forgiveness, acceptance, these bliss, enjoyment of life, it speeds it up. So we do this work with with Cognomovement to relieve all those things, and so that you don't feel them anymore, the negative ones. But I want to point out an early story about the dynamic of how this happens, because Liz just talked about the path of least resistance. There was this nun that I knew that she was very funny. She had a lot of clarity and also an absence of those negative feelings. And this is way back in the day, way back where not many people knew about the law of attraction and that sort of thing. And there was a priest that she was in the rectory with, and they were friends, so she said to him, you can manifest stuff, you can make stuff happen that you want, anything you want. And he goes, that's malarkey. That's not true. That is just not true. I tell you what, why don't you, manifest something? She says, fine, you choose it. And he says, and this is how long ago it was, a boom box. That's what, you manifest a boom box. And she goes, okay. And she just closes her eyes for a couple minutes. As far as he can see, she's just closing her eyes for a couple of minutes. And then she just kind of nods her head and she says, okay, I gotta go teach a class. And he's like, kind of, whatever, right? So she's gone teaching her class. It's gone for a few hours. Knock, knock on the rectory door. It opens the door. The priest opens the door, and there's a woman there, and she's got a box. It's all wrapped up, and she says, "Listen, could you give this to the nun?" And he's kind of like, okay, and he puts the box down, and she gets done with class. A few hours later, comes in. And this is just so hysterical. He goes, yeah, somebody delivered something here for you when you were gone. And she goes, oh, wow, what is that? And, just like picks up the box, and unwraps the gift papers. Oh, look at that. Oh my, what is it? Oh, it's a boom box. And she's like, what the heck? So, but fast forward many years, right? I have the opportunity. I've seen this boom box in her house, and heard the story. But I was at a party at her house years after, and I got to meet the woman who delivered the boom box. So I got to interview her. And as I interviewed her, I said, I am so curious. What was it like? I mean, you just randomly, of all things, a boom box? And she said, we were, me and my husband were, going through a big store, right? In the United States, we have Costco or these huge kind of big stores that sell everything. And she just literally looked over and she goes, oh my gosh, the boom box. I'm going to pick that up for the nun. That's what I'm going to, and she just put it in her cart, literally wheeled it, bought it, wheeled it out the store, got the wrapping paper, wrapped it up, and just drove down there and knocked on the door. That was it. That was that. She said that she just felt like, oh, this is perfect for that. This and that go together.
She became inspired instantly, right?
Instantly inspired. And I have had the opportunity now, and it's just really cool, but I've had the opportunity to see two sides of the manifestation process. And the story is the same. When one person, is inspired to call the other, to introduce to so many a different thing. And so that was the path of least resistance for that particular boombox.
Yeah, it reminds me of those like the domino thing, the people who create the big elaborate dominoes. The first domino gets hit and then it travels all the way around and makes the loop until it finally, makes it its end. And I think this is a really interesting point because we do often put so many conditions on our manifestations. And I know who you're talking about, by the way. And in the moment, she doesn't put conditions on it. She probably had no idea who would deliver that. She just knew it would. And it reminds me, one of the old thought leaders, Florence Scovel Shinn, she wrote The Game of Life and How to Play It. And she talks a lot about people would come to her and they would say, Florence, I need you to speak the words that I get this thing. And that's what she would do. She would decide that it was going to occur. She would usually give the people some homework or some kind of a thing, but she would speak the words for them to have it. She was certain, so certain that would, almost always come to pass. That, all of the things would line up exactly right for that thing to come. So this is another thing to think about. Where are you putting conditions that are blocking the thing you want from just walking in your front door or being delivered to your front door?
Right. And you know what? And, because this is the work we do, me and Liz, and the weird thing is that we get to see it in real time. We had a person that was with cancer, and literally there was the very specific type of cancer. In the little conference that we had, there were experts, literally experts that came in. I'm an expert in this. I actually have an alternative that is proven for this, and it was shocking to see the manifestation in real time come together right in front of us.
Yeah, it could not have been more specific. There was no generality to this thing at all.
Yeah.
And the two people that he needed to give him some answers right now were became immediately available.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what it makes me think of? It's interesting because we'll want something and maybe we're not really ready for it. We're not ready for this thing to show up. There's some things that we need to do to get cleared out of the way to almost make space. Denise Lynn makes it actually physical in that way. She talks about that if you want something, you clutter clear your house. You actually physically take time and energy to make space. So if you're single and you want a partner, and maybe you're a woman, you have only very feminine things in your house, you neutralize your bedroom. So it's welcome for a man if that's who you're looking for. You put pairs of things on your walls. You prepare the way. So I think there's this idea of clarity that follows through with that too. As you make space in your house, you're thinking about the space needed for that item to show up. If you're changing out your bedroom, let's say you just do it with goodwill or on a dime or shop in your own house, you're very much thinking about that thing and creating clarity mentally and physically. For Bill and I, we know that it's the physical piece that can be changed very easily. And if you change it first, your mind will go along with you. And you become clearer. First of all, you actually become a little bit smarter because your brain is working better. The two sides are harmonized and your nervous system becomes calm. But then you can do this spec thing. You can choose easier. You can project. You're seeing it as part of your life. You're making room. You're expecting it. You're giving it the clarity and the certainty that it will arrive because you've prepared the way. And then all you really have left to do is claim it, receive it, let it walk through the door. So many times, like we said, this is the spot where people get messed up. It shows up. And then you throw a fit because it's not exactly what you thought. Well, you didn't plan for it well enough. I think this is the missing thing. In law of attraction, it's always your thoughts becomes things. That's only partially true. It's really your feeling that becomes a thing.
Yeah.
It's really your feeling that formulates the what, where, how of the thing that you want to come in or the thing that you're resisting.
Right.
Is how you feel about it. Right, Bill?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And notice, am I in my life focused on resistance? You have to be honest with yourself. Most of us are going to immediately say no, but be honest. Are you spending time thinking about what I don't want, who I don't want in my life? What behaviors from then I don't want in my life? What feeling I don't want in my life? Am I reaching for a substance and to avoid the feeling of that, which all of those things are simply resistances to our manifestation. So,
gosh, that you couldn't be more right, Bill. When we work with people and we say, well, what do you want? We get a list of what they don't want a mile long, and getting people to even really state clearly what they do want or choose turns out to be the hardest thing. Most people are really not sure what they want, or they're afraid to narrow it down. They're afraid to actually really make that choice. So I would say the biggest piece of advice that I would give, get comfortable with manifesting, with choosing, and pick something fun that is not the thing you most desperately need in your life, but some little thing that would make your life a little better, or that would just give you a little thrill. And focus on that because it doesn't mean so much. And build your muscle for manifesting. Choose just this little next thing and be certain it'll show up. And then when it does, throw a little manifesting party. Celebrate, even within your own body. Do a happy dance and then choose again and choose again. This is the thing people don't know. You can choose 1,000 times a day. You don't have to only choose once, and that's what you're stuck with. And I think that's what people are afraid of. What would your big piece of advice be, Bill?
Well, my big piece of advice is going to begin to simply notice. Notice, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? And where is that feeling in my body? There's a place that you have the feeling right now in your body, or that you wake up with. Notice also when you win, when you get, when everything works out for you, there's a different place in your body that you have a feeling. Notice where that is. Easiest way to do that is go back to earlier in your life and remember the times you got it, whatever that was. There was a place. Begin to put your attention into that place in your body. And notice, once you do, how things begin to shift.
People will look at this slightly differently, just like you would put it into conditioning for a race, right? Condition yourself for manifesting. Start the steps. Get comfortable with choosing, build your muscle, get comfortable with projecting it into your life, get comfortable with expecting it. Learn a system like Cognomovement. Basic training is all you really need to train your body into the highest state of manifesting ability. And then quantum teaches you how to do it even further from that. But basic training, it will condition your nervous system to get to that neutral or better. But find a way to get to the place of being real comfortable with expecting, and then practice that claiming it. Rehearse. When it walks through the door, no matter how, you're going to open it, welcome it with open arms. I always say with my kids, with my husband, with people I love, do my eyes light up when they walk in the room? I want them to know I see them and I'm so happy to see them. You can do that with your manifestations. You can rehearse. Start conditioning yourself, doing the exercises, and you will get there in a way that makes it repeatable, like Helen Hadsell or Florence Scovel Shin or your friend Bill, where it's very, very, very practical and predictable and repeatable. That's where you want to get with your manifesting. Not that it is like some magic and you hope. Abandon all hope. Trade it in for some clarity. So everybody, if you're interested in basic training, please come to cognomovement.com. It's an online class. You can get it right away and start this process of getting comfortable. And we do want you to know there's still time as well to come to our big event of the year. It's Bill and I in person. You'll be there with our faces. 4 days, September 8th through 11th in gorgeous sunny San Diego. The event is called Cogno Conscious. And that Hawkins scale that we talked about, we actually move all the way up it. So you clear all of this out of your body. You become a new human. Your perspectives are so radically changed that this idea of manifesting becomes nothing. Oh, that's easy. I got this. You don't have the old perspectives and things that hold you back. You really gain a level of freedom that is just not available anywhere else. So if you're hearing my voice and this sounds like something you need to be at, please come to cognomovement.com, upcoming events, and get your tickets. There's still time for that. All right, Bill McKenna, this was a fun conversation. We'll see you and everybody else next week. Be safe out there, guys, and big love to you all.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here with us on the New Life Perspective radio show. For more information or to find out more about the work that Bill and I do, please visit us at cognomovement.com or email us at info@cognomovement.com. See you again soon.